How you feel?
I'm getting there.
All right, so let me kick off my introduction. What's going on, people? How are you? This is the September Creative Meetup, and it's your boy, Kevin Ewing, full-time Kevin Ewing Photo, the homie with the Sony, and we have Mrs. Peggy Norton. She is going to tell us who she is, what she does.
Hello.
So, before we get started, I want people to kind of understand what the Creative Meetup is, and that may even help the conversation run a little smooth. So, what I wanted to create with the Creative Meetup is a place for people to come in, share what they do. I wanted people to come in and feel comfort, feel community, feel appreciated. And then there are so many people that would never come in contact if they weren't here. So last month, I had a chiropractor, a barber, I had a podcaster, I had a business consultant, like coach. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, there might be one person in one part of the county, another person in another part of the state, like they're coming in and we're now combining ideas. Oh, you're good at this. Like, I think you should, like, we're spreading the network. Mm-hmm. So I am about to find out some things about you that I can kind of pass along.
Awesome.
And then from there, we have the footage. We're going to share it. We're just starting a conversation.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So, what can you tell me about who you are? You know what? Before you get there, I want to say this. So, I want to say last month we did a photo shoot.
Oh, yes.
And during the photo shoot, I'm like trying to just kind of ease everything. And I asked Miss Norton, what is the thing that she just loves? What gets her excited? And she said her husband. She talked about her relationship. And that really stuck with me because I'm married. I'm trying to have some longevity in my marriage, trying to be together for a long time. So you gave me some advice.
Well, good.
And I felt probably just as good as you leaving the shoot.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I did feel real good.
Okay, so I'm done. I've talked for 2 minutes already. I'll let you go. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, so much, because I'm telling you, this is something special to me, and I honor you for allowing me this opportunity from the photo shoot.
Yeah.
That's how it took place. And yes, I am Peggy Norton. Some people may even know me as Pastor Peggy, because I have a ministry that is located downtown Aberdeen.
Okay.
And it's called Encouraging Souls Ministry. The vision of Encouraging Souls Ministry is exactly what the name says. We come to encourage people's soul. And that's what, even the question you asked me about marriage, what's the secret? What made me excited? And I said, my husband. That encouraged your soul, as you just said.
Definitely.
And it's that simple. So in addition to being the pastor and the founder or the establishmentarian of that ministry, I had developed a lot of grief in my life.
Okay.
And I thought I was handling it pretty well,
Most of us do.
Keep on the smile and fake it until we make it type thing. And I realized that I was really dying on the inside. Mm. And because of that, I realized that I was a strong person. And if I am as strong as I believe I was, what about those people that are not as strong as I am?
Right.
How are they dealing? How are they managing? So I decided, let's go and find out what this thing called grief is about. Okay. And I took a training and became a certified specialist in it.
Okay.
So that is what my sole purpose is right now, as far as encouraging souls and helping people's soul to be recovered because of grief.
Okay.
So if I was to ask you today, son, how would you describe grief to me? What would it be? What would you say to me?
I would say maybe the sadness, the emotion from a loss.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, I'm smart.
Yes, you are. I'm proud of you. That's exactly what it is. It is the emotional part of the loss.
Okay.
And if I was to ask you, when would you think was the first time you experienced a loss in your life? What would you say to that?
I know very early there were like great grandparents and things like that, but I didn't have the close relationship with them.
Okay.
I would probably say a teenage relationship.
Okay.
It would probably be like the first like hurt of not having someone close like I had them.
Okay.
I have my parents, my siblings, stuff like that. So there hasn't really been like anything outside of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is a normal answer to that question. But if I was to tell you, it really happened the day that you came out of your mother's womb.
Right.
And because we don't realize what grief is, it really is a change from something that is normal, something that is natural, something that is, something that we experience our comfort zone in.
Okay.
And when that comfort zone is taken away, it's a loss. So think about it. You've been in your mom's womb for 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
You were getting 3 meals a day, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. You were having something to drink all the time. You were nice and warm. You could swim all day if you wanted to. All of that. And then all of a sudden, it's time for you to come into the world. And you come into the world, and what happens when you come into this world?
I cried like a baby.
Exactly. Why did you cry? Because there was a change from your normal comfort zone.
Right.
You lost that comfort, and your reaction to that loss was emotional, which was a cry and a tear.
Okay.
So when you were born, you experienced your first example of grief.
Okay.
Because grief is the loss from the change of something that you were familiar with.
Okay.
It also can be like there be someone in your life for a long time that when they died, you needed that person one more time and they're not there. You're longing to have them, but they are there, in your mind, the memories and everything that you feel, they're there. But physically, they're not there. And the longing of having them there is really a grief event.
Okay.
So we think that grief is the sadness,
Right.
like you said, and that's the reaction to the loss.
Mm-hmm.
We think that it's anger. If you are taking college courses and things like that, Dr. Elizabeth Ross gives us the stages of grief. And during this grief recovery method that I facilitate at the ministry, we do not talk about phases. We talk about the trauma that you have experienced and what is your reaction to that trauma.
Okay.
And because of that, once you identify the reaction to each trauma that you've been through, not just death and dying, not just divorce or the breakup of a relationship, but it could be something as simple as, and you mentioned this, let me just tell you this. When you were sharing with me earlier about really it was a generational gap of understanding the difference in the generations,
Right.
we call that transgenerational loss because there is a gap between myself
Yes.
and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren.
Right.
For me understanding their ways and they understanding my ways. And because of that, my mom, you just too much. My mom, you don't understand. Just let me do it. And I'm saying, no, you too much. You don't understand. So that loss of communication is really stressful for the new generation and stressful for
Right.
parents as well.
Yeah.
And that's why you have this broken relationship, because grief is also about the relationship that you have with the individual that may change, whether it is a positive or a negative. When that relationship changes with an individual, emotions generate. And you're like, why am I feeling like this? Why do I act like this? And it's because of the change emotionally that you go through.
Right. Okay. So would you say that someone should seek some kind of grief counseling before something happens?
Yes, and that's the other thing. When someone has shared, oh, I think you should go and talk to someone. We take that as a negative.
You
We
right.
really do. We think that it's taboo.
Yeah.
And I just tell everybody, it really isn't.
Right.
You would not believe the clients that have come through and said, oh, if I had just known this years ago, I would not have gone through all of what I've gone through.
Right.
Just being able to open your mouth and to release something that you've been holding for years, for months, for days, makes your process and your living so much more worthwhile and fulfilling. So the answer is yes.
Okay.
Don't wait until something happens. But it's called grief recovery. When we say that grief is the normal and natural reaction to a loss, that could be anything. We've even have a list of over 40 different type of losses.
Well, and I'm happy you brought that up because I was actually going to ask you maybe what are 5 like different examples of, I guess, a loss that you would have. I guess every loss there's grief.
Right.
But like, what are the types of losses?
Very good. I'm glad you are very smart, sir.
I'm okay. I do all right.
There are over 40. Let me just bring up the one that everybody does not realize. We're going to put COVID in there because we are now studying to find out what emotions did COVID provide and put on every individual during that process.
Okay.
Everyone experienced something different. People lost their lives. People lost their taste. People have lost all kinds of mental stability
Right.
because of COVID. So we have COVID as a type of loss. We have addiction. When you come from being an alcoholic or a drug addict, the loss of what was familiar to you, okay, whether you were an alcohol or drugs, by you making that change, that is a loss.
Okay.
When you get married, that is a change. You say, wait a minute, marriage?
Yeah.
I'm happy. Marriage is supposed to be exciting and
Right.
fulfilling, and it really is. But it's a change from your norm because now it's not just about Kevin, but it's about Kevin and his wife. And now I have to change to be not only a wife, but a husband, a wife, a mother, a dishwasher, all of those things when it's not just me.
Right.
So marriage, divorce, death, any type of even health change. When we go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, Miss Norton, I'm sorry to tell you that, you have some type of whatever. A change in my health is a loss.
I was gonna say mandatory diet change.
Yes.
You were gonna grieve over that.
You are. And even when you move from place to place, if you were evicted, a loss, if you even purchase a new home, you would think that would be exciting. But because of the change from the familiar, I'm now going into a new neighborhood. I'm going into a bigger home that I'm not sure if I can afford
the
this.
bills are different. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
all of that is grief. It will trigger a grief event to you. But we discount it. Even when someone has been sexually abused or mentally abused or physically abused, they have loss of safety, loss of security, loss of trust. We call those intangible losses because you can't see them,
Okay.
but you can feel them. When we think, oh, you're just being paranoid, why? Something happened that changed me to make me feel paranoid.
Right.
That is a loss. And we discount that because we don't think it's important. But if you have think about this, I normally give my clients a test and say, I'm going to read you a list of losses. Check off how many you've had. The average number is 13 out of 30 that I give them. Think about your life and you having 13 losses built on top of each one, and you have not been able to process the emotion behind those losses. Even having a baby, having a child,
Right.
becoming a daddy, all the emotional changes that come with that. And each emotion, each event that you've experienced brings a set of emotions of its own, and you become overwhelmed. You don't know how to do it. Why am I snapping at my wife? Why am I snapping at my husband? Why am I depressed? Why am I just not responding to anything? It's because our emotions have not been processed. We haven't honored them. We haven't recognized that we need help. And we think going to a counselor, going to a specialist is taboo, and it really isn't. It is life-changing. It is life-giving. That's what it is. It's not a problem.
Right.
I'm trying to do better. I'm trying
Yeah.
to stay better.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
Okay, so I have two things.
Sure.
My first thing, we're gonna circle back to the COVID point.
Sure.
So my children were kind of raised for 2 years in the house. So for, and I think of their situation because I lived with them, but there were babies that were born during COVID who both parents are home like for a year and a half, like in the house, or like even like my daughter, she's 7. Well, during that time, she was like 3, turning 4, turning 5, and we enjoyed it. It was like, man, like it's almost a party every day because we're getting to have just all the time. It's rarely to have a bedtime. We don't have anything to wake up for. Okay. I couldn't go shoot. My wife, there was like nothing really for us to do outside of the home except like try to take them on a walk or something like that. And so for them to return to what we felt was normal was almost like oddity to them. Like it was a strange way of living. So I never really considered
they were grieving.
Yeah, that part of like having to send them to school, put them on the bus. Like my first time putting my daughter on the bus, she had a mask on. So like just
not normal.
Right.
That's not normal. and that's what COVID did. It isolated you. It kept you trapped in only seeing your vision, your side of everything, but not seeing what was going outside the world. So this is what became your norm. And that's what you expected and your children expected to be happy like that. Now we got to go back to school. And, I got to wear a mask too? No. Right. And so they would be having withdrawals along with you because now your routine has changed.
Yeah. All right. So I told a fib. I said I had 2 things. I have 3 things. So
I'm on your time, sir.
My next thing is men grief versus women grief. What can you say to your experience with that? Like, are you seeing more women approach you? Are you like, is there a different way that you handle each gender? How you feel about that?
That's a very good question. And let me tell you, we talk about myths in our class.
Okay.
And these myths are things that we were brought up on from our parents, our grandparents, and whoever was influencing our life. So men have been told, one of the myths are, we have to be strong. Men have been told, you can't cry, put on, all of that. Right?
No, I was dealing with that. Yeah, I was dealing with that for a little bit.
So because that is what the male was growing up with, they took that on because that's what was told. And we don't disrespect our parents and definitely not our grandparents. So that is a myth that we come to class and we say, let me show you how this myth is a lie. Because grief has no respect of person.
Right.
So depending on how you were brought up is going to determine how you respond to your grief.
What's up, honey? How are you?
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Letting somebody in. Yeah, come on in. Come on in. Thank you. Yep, you can have a seat.
Yes.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you. Good. So that's what's going to determine how a man responds.
Okay.
There is no female grief and there is no male grief. None.
Okay.
We
Right.
show that clearly to you.
Okay.
It's whatever you experienced in your life, whoever was influential in your life to determine how you were going to live the rest of your life
Okay.
is how you're going to respond to grief. Yeah, men don't cry. Let me just tell you, the men in my class, yes, they do. And that's what this is about. It's about being real, being transparent. If we could just learn that grief is not a bad thing, that you can still have joy in your process of grief,
Right.
that will make a big difference.
No, I've learned a lot about truth this year. I mean, I have, because I have a 17-year-old. So a lot of times with him, I'll have the conversation of like, you got to keep it real with yourself first.
Yes, you
Like,
do.
you have to learn yourself. Like, I not always know what his fears are or what things are that make him tick, but I almost feel like, as a teenager, when you're like trying to fit in,
It's been that long, so
there-
I'm not quite sure.
there,
I got the picture.
like you're trying to fit in, and you're not necessarily who you are,
Yes.
and you are attracting
Yep.
the people that are like the person you're being like, but you're not attracting the people that you are actually like because you're never yourself.
Exactly.
And so you're like wondering why you're not happy. And it's like, man, well, this starts with the truth. Like,
Right.
and I've also been trying to get to a point of like being a man of your word.
Yes.
So I started to think like, there's no way you can be like unsuccessful or a failure if you're a man of your word, because there's so many things that not only that you tell other people like, hey, I'm gonna be there at 6, like, but you tell yourself so many different things, and when you don't keep your word to yourself,
Yes.
that's when you fail. Oh, I'm gonna change my diet. Oh, I'm gonna,
Yes.
get better grades this semester or whatever. And a lot of times you say it without the thought of commitment,
That's right.
and you like looking back and it's like, oh, like, I wonder why I feel like this.
Yes.
And it's because you didn't keep it real with yourself.
And see, we put expectations on ourselves that are not real.
Okay.
And when we do that, because we do it based on who we're comparing ourselves to.
Okay.
And that is part of society. We have taught ourselves to do that.
Yeah.
Is look at what this one has, look at what that one has. Oh, that's what I want to be like. Remember growing up, Kevin, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, there's somebody that's in trouble, a lot of trouble right now that I wanted to be like when I was younger. I have a talk that I was going to do along those lines. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to be in the music industry, and I wanted to be an NBA player. And
Exactly.
but that's so funny you brought that up, because my son today, he wore pajamas
Okay.
to school.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, what's up with that? He was like, oh, everybody's wearing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you got straight A's. You know, you're not gonna always do well trying to fit in because
That's
you're a
right.
person that stands out. And I let him wear it. It's like, hey, you're gonna be comfortable. You want to do you. I mean, because I wore braids, half hair in, half hair out, and I still, articulated properly and things like that. But I wanted to get to that point of you don't want to be grouped and
That's
like you don't want people to associate you with certain things.
And it will.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
And see, between the period of 18 to 24 months, that is our life influences.
Okay.
That's when we learn to pick up the behaviors and the things that we like from our parents or whoever we're around
Yes.
the most.
Yeah.
And that, based on that, then we start adding on, what did elementary school give me? What did middle school give me?
Yeah.
And then what did high school? So we keep going more and more until, excuse me,
Oh, you're good.
one thing I would say to you, even the Kevin that I'm looking at right now, you're not the Kevin that you were created to be. You are a product of what you want it to be and what others have created you to be.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. I mean, so before we got on camera, I was saying it took me a while to get to this point, like to get comfortable on camera to the point to where I can encourage other people to get on camera and do what they do. And I mean, I journaled heavy. Like, hey, like there is something that you have for the world. If you give yourself to the world, it'll give itself back to you. Like, you just have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and keep trying. So, yes, the person that I am right now, I mean, even the person that I was at the beginning of the year, I'm like, I feel like I'm much different.
And you will be even the more. As long as you keep finding your truth. And now I'm switching into Pastor Peggy instead of Peggy. As long as you find your truth and know who you are and be truthful to yourself, you will definitely keep changing into what God created for you from the beginning, before the world had its hands on you to make you form opinions about certain things that you didn't want to think about or even decide you cared about. But because of all the commercialism and all the other things that influence our thinkings, it also influenced some of the way that you thought that may not be the way you feel now. So keeping your truth will make you perfected the way that God wants you to be this society. And it's going to be a difference. You're going to be like, why I feel like that? Why did
I feel there's a lot of times where I feel lonely or I feel like an outcast from time to time because I just don't like to live by societal norms. I like to, do things like normally if I see everybody going that way, I'm like, there's probably something better over here.
Yes.
So,
and that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Especially, and I just salute you today because of what you're doing. And again, thank you for this opportunity. You just don't know what's in store for you. I really can say that. You have so much more, especially with you opening this up to eliminate the boundaries. And what I mean by the boundaries is what you said. You want to bring people, the community together.
Yeah.
And by doing that, that is awesome. That is unheard of. I don't even know who the pastors used to want to do that, but they can't even get it right.
No, I feel like it takes a different kind of energy nowadays to make that happen.
You're
And I feel like I am the bridge.
Yes, you are.
From, just to speak in, I guess, proximity, like the Route 40 to the 24, the 22, things like that. Because there's going to be some people that would never come in contact with each other if, they weren't meeting here.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, this is a blessing because I don't come to Bel Air.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I'm serious. I've been up here for, 2 weeks now, almost in a row.
Yeah.
And it's because most of my surroundings and all of my business mainly is in that area you were talking about, in the quarter area.
Right.
So this is great. This is an opportunity of getting this out even the more for people to say, wait a minute, I think I do want to go and try out this grief process.
Okay.
It's not because it's taboo. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with me. It just means something is right with me and I just want to make it better.
Okay.
And that's the way we should look at it.
All right, so we're going to wrap up, but
sir.
is where can people find you?
People can find me either on Facebook under Peggy Norton.
Okay.
You can also find me under Encouraging Souls Ministry on Facebook. I am on Instagram too at Peggy Norton. You can also find me at my office that's located at 214 West Bel Air Avenue, Aberdeen, Maryland, Suite 102. And that's it.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for checking us out. You got to make sure you are proactive and not reactive.
Yes.
You got to get in front of it. We all dealing with some stuff. And this is one of the ways, man.
Yes, it is. Don't be afraid. Don't allow the myths that you have heard of you have to be strong and time is going to heal and Things like that, that's all that it is a myth. You can do this if you're tired of being tired.
That's that lasting impression she be leaving over here. Ah. Great job.